Hello there, and welcome to this Wheelchair Rugby League World Cup semi-final review. I'm your host, Super Saiyan Blue Lucario, so grab a cup of tea and join me as we dive into all the action of the penultimate round of matches. First, France versus Australia. The writing was on the wall from the off. On the second tackle, Gutadoro sliced through to score a very easy try. The Australians must have been worried at that point. However, it seemed to wake them up. He got the ball close to the line, and a favourable bounce found Brad Grove in space, and all of a sudden, right back in it. They weren't able to add the extras, and it was only 6-4. But France showed they were here to match physically. Borson smashing Grove into touch, but Hazard then made an uncharacteristic error at the play the ball. Perhaps the pressure of a semi-final getting to France here. The French were flying into tackles and showed that he could match a physical style like for like with Australia, who clearly came with a game plan to try and get under the skin. The French were showing they wouldn't be intimidated. They regained possession, and with speed and precision, Borson found his way through the defence to score, evading some desperate tackles. An early kick, and Borson raced away for back-to-back tries to give the French total control of the game. The Aussies kept coming with the physical tackles, though, forcing errors, and given an opportunity, they took it. Quick hands found Schumacher to cross and keep Australia in touching distance of the game. The Aussies came back again, building pressure, but a mistake on the last gave the French a breakaway. A desperate tackle by Karim denied them on the first tackle, but Borson was able to tear through a defence, unable to get back and set, and it was yet another French score. The Aussies tried to build again, but the last tackle option was poor. Swept up by France, followed by an early kick from Nico Clausel, and Borson sprinted away to reach it first. It was 30 points to 10 after just 22 minutes. A neat kick by Arbuckle was inches away from James Hill, who went desperately close. Then the French showed their class, going straight up the other end. Swift hands found Borson, who kept his arms free to score his fifth of the game. Corey Kinane showed great skill getting round the defence and nearly scored, but for a wheel hitting the whitewash just before touching down. This was swiftly punished. Nico Clausel went down the other end, weaved through the defence and across for the seventh try for France. The restart then hit the roof, which gave France more field position, leading to wave after wave of French attack. Borson with a brilliant round-the-back offload for Abassi to score, though a mistake from the restart gave the Aussies an opportunity. Same old story. Another error gave French possession once more, and again were punished as Abassi crossed out wide. It was the story of the game. Australia were building pressure. They were building and creating opportunities. It was errors letting them down. And every time they made an error, France punished them, going up to the other end and scoring, showing clearly the difference in skill and class overall, but also highlighting some vulnerabilities about the French. Another score for Abassi right on half-time brought up 50 points to France, who were riding the physicality and playing at a pace that the Wheelers just couldn't live with. The Aussies needed to start fast in the second half and won some back-to-back penalties to get an early chance. Karim, who managed to ground just in time before being tagged, and maybe a chance to bring the game a bit closer in the second half. They tried to ramp up the intensity, and early kick had a wicked bounce, and Gilles Clausel got sandwiched by two Aussie wheelchairs. France played on in the carnage and earned a penalty. On the back of this, Gutadoro then crossed, evading some very slow defence to score. But the Aussies kept trying. They were starting to contain France and creating even more opportunities. A wonderful offload by Karim nearly resulted in a try before an error on the following tackle broke the play up. It was the bane of the Wheelers. The execution was letting them down, while France were clinical. Abassi making the most of yet another error to extend the lead again. Australia wouldn't go down without a fight, though. They were showing they were capable of creating chances. It was only execution that was their undoing. Schumacher was able to cross through to get the fourth Aussie try, but a mistake on the second tackle. Again, France made Australia pay. Gutadoro getting his next score, keeping his arms out of reach to touch down, taking the posts with him. Luff was able to cross for Australia after a push penalty, able to weave past the defence to score. Australia was certainly showing pride, even if the game itself was beyond reach. Schumacher managed to get a desperate hand to the ball to prevent a certain French try, and more desperate cover tackles prevented another score, forcing the final pass forward. A few repeat sets, though, better for the Australians, and they were in again. Quick hands out wide to Grove to cross in the corner, and they were starting to expose some French vulnerabilities. A stronger defence and more switched off from the off, and maybe it could have swung the other way. England and Wales would certainly be watching with keen interest here. Australia gave a penalty then for dissent, which France slotted over the 2 points just to settle things down, as it hadn't been the best second half for them. De Haal then made an error from the kickoff, and from the play the ball, Canane crossed over for Australia, exposing French sluggishness defending from set restarts. A little slow to get the movement on. Maybe something for the other semi-finalists to look at. Vargas got the ball after an error from the restart, and a shimmy through the defence found De Haal to cross over to bring up 80 points for the French. A superb pass landed yet another score before full time, putting the icing on the cake for France, who now head to the final next week. Player of the match, Jeremy Bourson, a phenomenal player, a class above everyone else, and was clinical in the first half siege that blew Australia away. Next, England versus Wales. My prediction thought this might be a close game before the tournament. Form going into the match suggested otherwise. England looked dangerous from the first set, but Wales were able to stay composed and force a turnover after 6 tackles. And they take confidence from that start. They then pushed forwards and looked to create, but England were able to hold firm in their shape before a cynical push penalty gave England good territory, and Bashara made them pay with a burst of speed to get through and score. A second was added quickly after, Bashara finding a hole out of seemingly nowhere and blitzing the defence to score. A penalty for another shirt pull, and England were in again. Fast hands sent Bashara in for his hat-trick in only 7 minutes. Wales then put a neat kick down the touchline for Trig Turner to chase, but Coyd was able to comfortably deal with it. England then turned defence into attack as Halliwell tore through. But fortunately for Wales, it was tagged just short. It was only a short reprieve though. Bashara again surging forward before hands to Halliwell, and then Coyd going in at the corner to score. The restart was then held up, and England had to give away a dropout, giving Wales a chance at the English line. But England hold strong, and the kick through narrowly missing the post, and the chance fell away for the Welsh. England came close from the following set, but Wales were able to defuse the kick behind. It was a similar story from the previous semi-final. One side making errors and really unable to live with the speed of the other were very clinical in attack. Wales were not going to give in. A neat kick over the top forced an offside penalty before a desperate hand from Coyd prevented a Welsh score. It only delayed the inevitable, though, as they did manage to get one in the corner, a bullet pass out wide to Trig Turner after Higgins went close under the posts to keep them in the game. The restart had a horrendous bounce and came back up for England, who responded instantly, shipping the ball and finding Coyd, who scored after evading the defenders, keeping his shoulders just out of reach to prevent the tag. And that's the arcing move. King then sprinted away down the touchline, but a wonderful chase back from Trig Turner managed to deny the try. And great scramble defence forced an error. The Welsh were able to survive. But as Wales tried to clear their lines, Coyd collected the pass and weaved his way out wide, sprinting down the touchline to add England's 6th of the game. If that wasn't bad enough, Jack Brown was then added to the fray for England. The tempo lifted. Bashara went through a gap and could have scored himself, but tried to pass to Brown, who steamed forward. This was a short reprieve. A Welsh knock-on gave them the ball back, and Brown was able to work his way round the defence to score. Bashara then tore through again. This time it was Hawkins in support, who had far too much pace to score. A moment later, England in again. Brown with a simple shuffle and got through some poor tackles to sprint clear and score. Wales were too slow to get set in defence. Who is it? Bashara again, sprinting through a hole to tear away and score England's 10th of the half. It only got worse. Brown then evaded tackles left and right, sweeping through for yet another. England sending a clear message to France ahead of the final. Wales tried to get in England's faces to slow them down, but the relentless speed of England was too much. A drop off ball to Brown, who was able to weave through quite comfortably. Wales finally got the ball back after a ruthless 10-minute spell off an offside penalty and tried to run down the clock to half time. They nearly scored, but for some solid defence from England. It was one way traffic. England was sensational, and there was nothing the Welsh could do about it. They weren't doing much wrong, but the speed that England were playing at was at a completely other level, one that Wales couldn't live with. The second started just like the first, an England score off the back of a poor kick out of deep from Wales, Brown tearing through unopposed to add the 13th try for England. Collins then weaved through stretch defence and found Coyd out wide to bring the score up to 80 points. Another swift score before a switch off from England after a rare error. Wales managed to hit double figures, with Priest scoring from a dummy and evading a lazy tackle from Jack Brown. Brown then made amends for this by pouncing on a Welsh error to go in on the right-hand corner. If you thought England would drop off, think again. If you thought England would drop off, think again. Nathan Collins sprinted down the touchline after tired Welsh defence switched off. But then an England error at the restart gave Wales another crack. A superb ball out wide before a tip onto Jones nearly saw a try. Stuart Williams was able to cross down the blind side for the Welsh third try. However, a knock on at the restart and Jack Brown was sprinting on, pounced on the ball and crossed easily to bring up 100 for England. With 22 minutes still on the clock. Less than a minute later, that man Jack Brown again, swerving in and out of three defenders to tear through. At this point, Brown left the field. And you might be thinking the scoring might stop here. Wales managed to stem the tide for a few minutes, get some possession. Higgins and Williams still trying everything for the cause. Karen managed to add a score after Williams went close to bring up 20 points for Wales. Then a high kick nearly found the Welsh again. Williams knocked on, regathering possession. England then made them pay. A good ball to Declan Roberts, who showed good pace to blitz away for England's 20th try. Roberts added a drop goal for extra gloss, maybe practicing ahead of a potentially close game in the final. Halliwell broke free to go close before a last-gasp tackle to deny him. Welsh got the ball, and a kick and chase nearly found Trig Turner, but Hawkins was able to clear up before a bit of a push and shove contest. Gary Priest not happy with Hawkins, and a bit of a shove around there, and then for dissent was yellow carded. And we saw on the replay that he may have knocked the door off its hinges. So something was clearly done there. Not sure what. Didn't really talk about it on TV, but he was not happy. England took advantage of the numbers. James Simpson crossed over, before Hawkins then showed blistering pace to score down the wing. Players in the match? I can't decide between two, so we're going to give it jointly here between Jack Brown and Seb Bashara. Both were unstoppable, both absolutely unplayable, and played significant roles in the absolute destruction of the Welsh. So, what do we have here? France versus England in the final. It's the one that most people expected to see, but they had to overcome some fairly stubborn resistance in the semi-finals. I don't think either have really been truly tested as of yet in this tournament, but it certainly will be a different story in the final between the two. We look at the previous World Cups. The last two, France have won. They won by 2 points in 2013, and they won by 4 points with a try in the last minute to win in 2017. So England will still be smarting from that. I have it predicted to be a reverse of the 2017 game. It won't be a blowout score one way or the other. It will be a very close contest, much like the game between the two sides earlier this year, which was settled by a very late score in England's favour. The key difference, I think, between both sides right now is the last couple of tests between England and France, there's been one person missing. I believe he's been down under in Australia helping the wheelchair game over there. And that is Jack Brown, who has got a ridiculous number of tries in this tournament already. And he got 8 tries in the semi-final alone. Which tells you just how good this man is. And I think that could be the difference maker. France have their own superstars as well. Don't get me wrong, they are a team full of superstars. Their starting lineup is just as good as their bench. They basically have two World Cup winning capable sides to pick from. England, I don't quite see the same amount of individual quality across all the players. However, what I do see is a very cohesive team. A team that they rotate for each other, they slot in well, they work very well for each other. And it's that teamwork and unity which will certainly help when it comes to the genuinely world class players, Seb Bashara, Joe Coyd, Jack Brown, Nathan Collins, for those guys to do their thing. The question is which side can keep up the intensity for the full 80 minutes. As we saw in the semi-finals, both have vulnerabilities, both can be exposed, both have tendencies to switch off at some moments. France, dealing with set restarts, are a little sluggish, something that England might be able to expose, but they don't make many errors, the French. So there won't be that many chances in that manner. England have got to find a way around them. Both play the game at blistering pace, and can keep up with the pace as well. So I don't think one will be able to just straight up blitz the other, but there's a tendency to score a lot of points in this game back to back. One way or another, it's going to be a brilliant final, a very close fought final on Friday, and I encourage everyone to watch this. Friday night, 7:30 on BBC Two, or Fight if you're streaming from America. I won't be streaming it myself, unfortunately, because I will be in Manchester at the game. I'll be at all three World Cup finals. Very, very excited for it. But that's for this review. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know, who do you think will win the Wheelchair World Cup? France or England? Let me know what you think about the semi-finals as well down in the comments below. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more content every single week. And until next time, it's time for me to have a cup of tea.